Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into the fascinating psychology behind why we actually find things funny. We're going to break down the science of laughter and look at how your specific comedic style impacts your daily life and your overall well-being. It turns out, what you laugh at reveals a whole lot about your brain. Let's get into it.
Have you ever actually stopped to think about what makes you literally laugh out loud? I mean, what is your personal comedy style? And maybe more importantly, is it acting as a shield for you or a weapon? As we go through this explainer, I really want you to mentally self-diagnose. Ask yourself, is my laughter acting as a healthy, adaptive psychological defense mechanism, or is it kind of just a detrimental habit disguised as a quick joke?
Okay, moving right along to Section 1, the psychology of playfulness.
So, to really understand our humor, we have to realize it's not just about, telling jokes at a party. It's actually a deeply rooted psychological state. Psychologists basically categorize our mindset into two distinct modes. First up, there's the telic state. This is when your brain is totally geared towards seriousness and achievement. You're focused, you're getting things done, you're locked in on a goal. But contrast that with the paratelic state. This state is associated entirely with playfulness, fun, and humor. To appreciate or create humor, our brains literally have to actively shift gears into this paratelic state. It's a fundamental psychological shift. And you know what? This paratelic shift is absolutely crucial right from the very beginning of our lives. Nurturing a sense of humor in kids equips them with vital coping skills. Studies actually show it helps kids deal with stressors from school, home life, and relationships. It boosts their self-esteem and peer support. We're talking specific benefits here, like enhanced social bonding, incredible stress relief, and even better pain coping. Ultimately, growing up with a robust sense of humor sets kids on a much more positive path, which researchers have even linked to better college adjustment later on. Pretty amazing, right?
All right, let's jump into Section 2, the 9 types of humor.
We know playfulness is good for us, but what kind of funny are you really? Let's find out. First up, we've got physical humor. Also known as slapstick, this relies entirely on physicality. Think clowns, funny facial expressions, or just, watching someone trip and fall over. Right alongside that is type number 2, self-deprecating humor. This one is a massive favorite among stand-up comedians. They basically make themselves the butt of the joke, and the audience totally rewards them for it. It's a style that has completely taken over the internet and serves as the foundation for just countless viral memes.
Moving on to number 3, we have surreal humor. Imagine, for instance, a character looking for an S-shaped hook, and the quote-unquote hook turns out to literally be a person shaped like the letter S. Surreal humor is perfectly named. It's wonderfully weird. It completely thrives on illogical events, absurd situations, and total nonsense. It's just plain silly, and people love it. Then there's improvisational humor. This is comedy without a safety net, comedy without a plan. Shows like Just for Laughs gags are totally built on this. Our source material actually uses a political debate cartoon here to playfully joke about politicians just making things up as they go. But strictly speaking, true improv is thrilling, because you know the person is making up the jokes right there on the spot. When it's done well, there's no doubt it is uniquely impressive.
Let's look at number 5, wit and wordplay. This is exactly what it sounds like, twisting language around with humorous results. If you love puns, well, this is your home. And yes, dads everywhere can definitely rejoice, because the legendary dad joke lives securely right here in this category. It's all about that clever, sometimes groan-inducing manipulation of words.
All right, then we have number 6, topical humor. This style relies heavily on current events, trends, the news, or pop culture. Take a 2016 election comic from our source material, for example. Notice how the joke requires you to actually understand the context of that specific time period? To successfully pull off topical humor, you really need a thorough knowledge of what's going on in the world and the sharp ability to put a humorous spin on it.
Number 7 is observational humor. This is defined by the ability to poke fun at everyday life. Imagine a clever twist on the Little Red Riding Hood story, where instead of a scary wolf, the grandmother just bluntly calls out the child's big teeth and tells her she's the least favorite grandchild. It takes something totally familiar to us and points out a funny, often overlooked reality within it.
Moving right along to number 8, we enter highly divisive territory, bodily humor. Ah, yes, the home of the classic toilet joke. This encompasses pretty much everything to do with farts or bodily functions. The research explicitly notes that this is a very divisive type of humor for sure, but it actually remains incredibly popular, particularly among men and teenagers. Finally, we reach number 9, dark humor.
This style involves taking dark, sometimes really depressing underlying themes and throwing comical or unusual situations into the mix. Our source material uses a pretty provocative political example regarding a presidential assassination to illustrate this, but honestly, regardless of the specific joke, the psychology here is just fascinating. Dark humor actually serves as an extremely important protective mechanism. For people who experience high-stress jobs, like doctors and nurses, or even people dealing with complicated family dynamics, it acts like a pressure valve. In fact, studies show dark humor has even enhanced human resilience during some of the most horrific events in history, like the Holocaust. It's a really powerful coping tool.
Okay, moving to section 3, the science of funny. Now that we've gone through the 9 types of humor, what do people actually prefer? Let's step away from the subjective side for a second and look at the hard data. To figure this out, the dating site eHarmony ran a trial to test comedy preferences based on demographics. They tested this out on 200 participants, and the results, well, they were actually pretty surprising.
When we compare the data from those 200 people, a really clear picture of our societal tastes emerges. Physical humor actually came out on top as the absolute most popular overall. On the flip side, that intense coping mechanism we just talked about, dark humor, that was the least popular overall. But the demographic breakdowns are where it gets really interesting. Educated people tended to find physical humor much less funny, leaning instead toward wit and wordplay. Furthermore, the older the participants were, they actually found everything less funny across the board. Tough crowd, right?
And that brings us to section 4, humor as a shield. So the type of humor you prefer clearly says a lot about you. But is it actually helping you or is it hurting you? Researchers Martin and Ford broke humor down into 2 major categories, detrimental humor and pro-social humor. Detrimental humor includes things like heavy sarcasm and self-disparaging jokes, and the research clearly links this style to potentially negative ramifications. We're talking reduced well-being, low self-esteem, and even lower relationship quality. On the other hand, we have pro-social humor. This includes affiliative humor, laughing with others to build bonds, and self-enhancing humor. Unsurprisingly, this is strongly linked to positive outcomes and far greater overall well-being.
But the researchers added a very, very important caveat here. The absence of detrimental humor is equally important to the presence of pro-social humor styles. Really let that sink in for a moment. It isn't just about adding positive, bonding humor to your life. Cutting out that self-defeating sarcasm and self-disparaging humor is just as vital for your mental health. Basically, you have to remove the negative to truly benefit from the positive.
Because when it's utilized correctly, humor is an incredibly powerful psychological tool. Psychologists recognize humor as a major character strength. It functions as an adaptive ego defense. By enabling us to perceive the comical absurdity in highly challenging situations, it serves as both a defense mechanism and a truly brilliant way of coping with adversity. It's literally a shield that protects our minds when the world gets a little too heavy.
Which brings us right back to you. I want to leave you with this final thought. Look inward at the jokes you make every single day. Are you using your humor as a character strength to build resilience and connect with others? Or is your laughter secretly hiding a self-defeating defense mechanism that's actually pulling it down? Think about that the next time you find yourself trying to get a quick laugh.